Episode 2, what happens when you're not ready. You think you'll have time. Time to talk about it, time to write it down, time to make sure everything is in its place. But sometimes you just don't. And when that time never comes, what's left behind isn't just grief, it's tension, it's confusion, and it's the weight of 100 decisions that no one feels prepared to make. In this video, I'm going to share what happens when there's no plan, no paperwork, and no guidance. These examples from my own personal experience are not meant to scare or overwhelm you, but just to show you how common it is for end-of-life planning to be avoided, causing chaos, confusion, and distress in an already devastating time. It's what makes this so important to talk about. Because we don't prepare end-of-life just for ourselves. We do it for the ones we love who are going to have to take care of what's left. We do it so that those people can actually grieve and not guess, and for families to come together in that moment and not fall apart. If you've been avoiding this, thinking I'll get to it later, maybe this video helps you understand why now matters. Not to pressure you, but to maybe motivate you to start making those small steps. Not later, now. So let's talk about when you're not ready and how to make sure that your story ends differently. I lost my father suddenly in 2017, and I can honestly say that the aftermath of death was even more devastating than losing him in my presence. My dad and I were very close, so we actually did have some honest conversations about what he'd already planned for and what else he had as his wishes. I felt confident that I would be able to meet his needs and his wishes, partly because he did prepare, and I consider myself responsible, not only in my personal, but in my professional life. I'm a professional organizer, so this kind of admin coordinating work seemed kind of something I could handle. But when the time did come, it was immediately and upsettingly obvious about the million things that we did not prepare for. Even more painful was that I couldn't ask him what to do. He was gone. Although some major decisions were clear, which were immensely helpful, I had to learn countless lessons on the fly. I just wasn't fully prepared for the aftermath of death, logistically, financially, or emotionally. So let me share what it might mean when you're entrusted with the affairs of a loved one. Logistically, there are so many logistics, like did they have a will or a trust? Do you know where to find it? Do you know who to contact to help you walk you through what it all means? Death certificates. How many do you need? How much are they? Where do you go get them? And who needs originals and who's okay with copies or digital? I'll tell you, it was a little bit surreal standing in the death certificate line right next to the birth certificate line. So it's a little bit of an emotional part to that. Also, who needs to be notified? Did they have a contact list of who they needed to tell or wanted to know first? How many people is that? Do you have all their contact information? Do you have the time to take care of calling everybody and fielding all those return calls and messages? Do you have access to their computer or phone? Do you have access to their emails? Do you know what their passwords are to their accounts? Do you know what their funeral or ceremonial wishes were? Are you ready to plan for all of what it takes to basically throw a party? The invitations, the location, the time. What do you do with all the belongings in their home? And when do you do that? Did they have a car that needs to be taken care of? Pet care. Are there any pets that need to be taken care of and maintained and fed? Do they need to have a foster in the meantime? Finding trusted CPA or attorneys for either estates or wills or trusts can be absolutely helpful in helping you guide specifically for what is your situation. And in my case, that was everything to me. Financially. Is there a rent or a mortgage that needs to be paid? How will that be paid? Who's in charge of that? Who will take care of maintaining the home and the expenses that go along with it? If the home needs to be sold, who's in charge of that? Who pays for, if it's rental, who pays for the mortgage? Do you know about any property reassessments if it does get sold that may triple or double? Aside from the house, what bills need to be paid? Are they easy to find? Do you know what counts they are? How much is owed? Are there any on automatic payment that you need to either cancel or pause? Are there any late fees that can accrue or something that might lapse if it's not paid in time? Are there any subscriptions that need to be paid or canceled and that you don't want to be billed continuously not knowing that an account exists and it's withdrawing from an account automatically? Do you know what bank they had? Do you know how many accounts they have? Do you know what the protocol is? for the banks when someone dies? Do you have access to any of those funds that you might need to handle all the things that are being taken care of? For example, sometimes you present a death certificate and they maybe have to hold the account for 40 days before anything happens to it. Also, if you tell the bank, usually they put a freeze on the account until they figure out who's in charge and what they need from you to be able to access the account. Are there any insurances or pensions for benefits that you need to track down? Credit cards. What do you do about credit cards? Do you still pay them when you tell them that the person is deceased? What is the situation of if that money is still owed, or who's in charge of making sure those payments happen? Or if they take that amount and it now becomes income for the deceased and you have to pay taxes on that. Financially, can you afford taking off work to handle all the things that need to be done? And then there's the emotional part of it. You just lost someone you love. And now there's this never-ending list of responsibilities and unsure deadlines. So maybe your grief gets put on the back burner just to handle everything. Then there's your family. Everyone has a different relationship with that loved one and a different way to grieve. So not only, if you're the one entrusted, are you handling everything that needs to get done, but you're managing emotions, you're managing grief, you're managing questions and delegating if you can. There's a lot of dynamics there that need to be navigated. Then there's also the guilt of guessing. Is this what they wanted? Are you sure that the decisions you're making are things that they would have wanted for themselves? And that comes with when things aren't clear. And then you have the worry of disappointing family members with following through the wishes. And sometimes that might lead to a break in relationship. Then when it's time to clear possessions and you don't know who gets what, sometimes that can cause breaks in relationships because you're not sure how to do that fairly because there was no plan for it. How do you emotionally not shut down when there's so many things to take care of? Do you have a space to recharge yourself or a plan to make sure that you can keep yourself going? Decision fatigue is real, and so is guilt, especially when you feel like people are depending on the decisions that you make. Do you have a circle of friends for support? Because this moment and all these responsibilities can feel isolating. How do you engage with friends and family? If you don't know how to ask for what you need, do you even know what you need? How do you ask for help? Or sometimes you just don't have the capacity to explain anything. The emotional part of work, do you have the mental capacity to keep working during handling all of these things? I have to say, my experience left me thinking, we are not ready. It's why I started my own end-of-life planning, to provide direction and clarity for my loved ones and have them honor my life in a way that I feel understood and celebrated. Who doesn't want that? I began sharing my "we are not ready" epiphany with anyone who would listen, especially those in my generation, because most often they'll have children and aging parents, and maybe starting to actually experience some health issues of their own. It's why I'm making these videos, because it doesn't have to be this way. I imagine a different experience that end-of-life planning can provide, and it looks a little something like this. I have a conversation with a handful of friends and family who we honestly discuss on what needs to happen, who feels comfortable with taking charge of something, not only because it's their strength, their comfort zone, but also with the capacity of what their life demands. I record my directives in a trust or a will or whatever combination of documents I need, and I have the guidance of somebody who can make sure that's officially laid down in paperwork. I create a centralized location with all my important documents and information so that my village can find everything and make the process much easier. My belongings are clearly labeled and listed, so it's clear on who gets what or where it ends up to make the process very easy for everyone. And my celebration of life is clear on what I would want for it to be so that it's joyful and everyone has a full space where they can grieve freely. Just envisioning that makes me motivated and feel like this is actually very doable. Most people avoid this topic for obvious reasons. It can be sad or complicated. We think we're protecting people by not talking about it, but I'll tell you, silence can bring more pain than the truth ever could. You don't have to do everything today. You don't even have to have all the answers yet. You just need to start. Because when you take the time to prepare, you're giving your loved ones clarity, not confusion. You're giving them a chance to move through a hard chapter with peace and not pressure. And that is truly a gift. If this video helped you see the power of small decisions, subscribe for more videos like these. And leave a comment if you've ever experienced or witnessed one of these hard lessons. What do you wish had been done differently? What do you want to get right for the people you love? Or what gift of preparation did a loved one leave you with? Your story might help someone else finally take that first step. And that is the end of episode 2. If this resonated with you, join my Skool community. Click the link in the description or go to Skool, Skool.com/marigold-planning.